Good evening, everyone. This is Brandon with BiggerPockets.com. You are live here at How to Make Six Figures with Fixer-Upper Rental Properties. Originally, the title of this webinar was actually like how to take massive action or how to get massive success, but I decided to narrow in a little bit more even and say, like, let's actually look at a way that a person could earn six figures. That's $100,000 a year part-time with Fixer-Upper Rentals. Now, I know that sounds like a lofty promise, but trust me, we're gonna get mathematical today. We're gonna get a little bit nerdy, and I wanna walk you through a like step-by-step plan that a person could do. It's kind of cool. If you've never heard of the BRRRR method, or maybe you have heard of it, this is going to rock your world today. Talking about buying fixer-upper rental properties. Again, using the BRRRR method, which is something that I like to pretend I invented, but I didn't. This is just something I put a word to. But it's something that people have been doing for hundreds of years, maybe thousands of years, doing this concept. And it's one of the most exciting ways to invest in real estate. One of my favorite strategies in the world. In fact, the strategy that a lot of investors use, and we never knew what to call it before. So that's what we're doing. For those who don't know who I am, my name is Brandon Turner. I am the co-host of the Bigger Pockets podcast that you can hear every week. We have a live show. We have one of the largest podcasts on earth. And I also do these webinars once a week. Every week, I'm here teaching you guys, talking about different topics. Today, we happen to be talking about BRRRR investing, but we talk about all sorts of stuff. So what's up, everyone? I see a bunch of people chatting in the chat room. Carl said, Brandon is cool, with a lot of exclamation marks. No, Carl, you are cool. All right, what else we got here? Jennifer from LA. What's up, everyone? How's everyone doing? Mike from Minnesota. What's up, Mike from Minnesota? I'm from Minnesota originally. We got Mark from Ohio. What's up, everyone? Lucas, first webinar. Hey, who's first webinar? If you guys, this is your very first webinar you've ever been to here on Bigger Pockets, here on BP, let me know, say newbie or first timer or something like that. Let me know in the chat area if this is something new to you. I'd love to kind of give you guys a special shout out. So yeah, lots of people. I said, ooh, pick me. Wow, they're coming in so fast now. I can barely read them. But all right, so a lot of newbies, a lot of first timers. All right, you guys are in for a treat because Bigger Pockets webinars are unlike any other online class you've ever gone to, simply because we have a lot of fun. We cover a lot of stuff. So there's this like thing in webinars that says, like when they teach you how to do webinars, like online classes, they're like, don't teach much. Your only goal is to try to sell them on like $1 million price package. So just tell them a little bit of something, get their appetite wet, and then hit them with a big course that you're going to charge tens of thousands of dollars for. That is what they teach. That is not what we do at Bigger Pockets. So we teach everything I possibly can teach you about BRRRR investing is what we're talking about tonight. So that's what we're going to do. I hope you guys are up for that. So I would highly encourage you to take some notes, grab pencil, paper, and over on the side in the chat area, you'll see a link to a worksheet, www.biggerpockets.com/125 worksheet. That'll help you take notes, be able to retain information. Science actually shows that when you take notes, you retain more. So with that, you guys, we're going to jump into this thing. I got a lot to cover today. In fact, we've got 134 slides to go through today. So again, like I said, I'm going to this might be a little bit like you're drinking from a fire hose, all right? So again, they want me to like trickle little things to you. That's what all the gurus say to do, right? Just trickle little bits of information, then charge you for a bunch of stuff. No, I'm gonna like open up the fire hose and just like inundate you with information. Is that cool? Are you guys good with that? Are you good with learning a lot of stuff tonight? I know I'm excited about this. Give me a whoop whoop if you're excited. Go ahead and type it in the chat room. If you're excited, say whoop whoop. That's like my favorite phrase in the world. Whoop whoop. And if you're sitting by yourself at home, go ahead and give me a verbal whoop whoop. All right. So again, you can get the notes at biggerpockets.com/125 worksheet. I will also let you know that again. Woo, there's a bunch of whoop whoops. All right, good. Let's get into this thing, guys. Again, welcome. I'm glad you guys are here. You guys rock. This is going to go for about an hour-ish today. I always go a little bit over because like I said, I got a lot to talk about. So hopefully you got the next like 9 hours of your schedule clear. Just kidding. I won't go that long. But we are going to go a little bit long today, or at least a full hour, if not a little bit longer. So welcome. Again, I want to encourage you guys, if you guys are interested in this stuff, if you're excited about real estate investing, if you're excited about BRRRR investing, I want to just encourage you guys to be present in this, which means if you're here, be here. Turn off the phone. Don't check the Facebook and the Twitter and all that stuff. Be present in the moment, because that's when life changes. That makes sense? So I'm here. You guys are here. Let's crush this thing. Cool? All right. So let's get on with this. Slide number 3. I know we're making such amazing progress through this. So what are we talking about today? We're talking specifically on how to make six figures a year part-time with fixer-upper rental properties. Like I said, we're going to get very mathematical and nerdy a little bit later, but don't worry. I'll keep the cookies on the lower shelf for everybody in case you're not a real big fan of math. It's actually very easy math, but I'm going to walk you guys through how a person could part-time start earning 60, 70, 80, $100,000 a year in income off of BRRRR investing. It's kind of a cool strategy. You guys are gonna love it. So, by the way, it's again, biggerpockets.com/125 worksheet. Again, it's biggerpockets.com/125 worksheet. I will put that up on the screen here in just a moment. But in the meantime, I'll put it in the chat area a few times. Check the top of the chat area. See it there a whole bunch. Hopefully that works. It did work for me. Okay, good. Hopefully it don't crash the site. If it doesn't open, just try it again in a minute. All right, let's move on to talk about what BRRRR is. So maybe you are, brand new to this. Maybe you have no idea what BRRRR investing is. That's probably a good place to start. First of all, BRRRR investing is an acronym that stands for buy, rehab, rent, refinance, and repeat. Let me say that again. I'll give you an example. I buy a property, then I'm going to rehab it. I'm going to fix that property up. Then I'm going to rent it out. I'm going to find tenants who want to live there. So now I'm getting cash flow, which gets me closer to my goal of financial freedom, right? Fourth is to refinance the property. Now, that's kind of the key to the BRRRR strategy is when you buy the property, you typically use what's called short-term funds. Short-term funds. And if, that might be hard money, private money, cash, home equity lines of credit, whatever. When you rehab it, you use that same private funds, maybe your own money, maybe somebody else's. You rent it out, then you refinance it. You're going to refinance it so you can get all your money back. So if you use short-term money, you're going to refinance it into longer-term money. And then lastly, you repeat the process because you refinanced it, you got your money back. We're going to repeat it. Now, if that was a little bit confusing, if that was confusing to you guys, I'm going to walk you through actually like 3 distinct examples of my properties. I'm going to show you pictures of it. We're going to walk through how that actually works here in just a second. So don't get confused. Don't shut this off and be like, it's too hard. I'm going to go back to watching, The Crown on Netflix, right? Calm down. Simmer down now. Simmer down now. And we're going to walk through examples. You guys, I promise you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about in just a moment. Cool? Again, I'll give you 3 examples of BRRRR deals that have worked out really good in my life. So, all right. Let me cover, before I get there though, I want to kind of summarize what my goal is today. Today, I'm going to show you how to realistically, you can make $100,000 a year or more doing part-time real estate investing using fixer-upper rental properties. Sound difficult? It might be. It is. Does it sound impossible? It's not. So understand that this is not get rich quick. This is not super easy, but it is doable. Now, what if you didn't make 6 figures a year? What if you made only $20,000 a year? What would an extra $20,000 a year do for you? What would an extra $40,000 a year do for your life? I mean, think of that, right? Like how awesome that could be if you could do some pretty amazing, you could generate $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a year extra, $100,000 a year extra. Think of what your life would be like. That's why I love this stuff. That's why I love this BRRRR method. All right, so understand, although this is not a guarantee, it's not some super secret plan. I'm not like going to reveal some secret plan that you got to pay me a bunch of money for. It's just a strategy. So are you going to use it? How will you use it? That's what I want to know. And that's what we're going to talk about. But first, I'll ask this. Do you want to remember everything from today's webinar? Yes or no? Yes. You want to remember this stuff, right? Well, let's be honest. I talk a little bit quick and I'm a little bit, jumping all over the place. So if you want to take the best notes possible, science shows that when you take notes, you retain the information and you're able to apply it better. If you want to take notes, download today's worksheet. biggerpockets.com/125 worksheet. No spaces, nothing like that. Cool? Again, biggerpockets.com/125 worksheet. All right, moving on. Last time I'm talking about that, you better write that down. All right, here we go. So, door prize number 1. Now, I like to make sure I give you guys value in case you guys are like, yeah, you know what? I'm done. I'm tired. I'm leaving. I'm going to go watch Dancing with the Stars tonight. I like to pick on that show. I want to make sure you guys got tremendous value just for showing up for the first 7 minutes. So first thing I want to provide for you guys is door prize number 1. This is a guide I put together called the top 20 real estate books every investor should read. If you're just getting started or you've been investing and you have less than 10 properties, I highly recommend you download this guide because you don't want to waste your time reading a bunch of crappy books that don't matter. These books are the ones you should read. These are my top 20 recommendations. And yes, of course, I put a couple of my own books in there because I'm greedy and selfish like that. But check it out. I put a lot of really good books in there. Things like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, a book by Larry Loftus on investing in duplexes, triplexes, and fourplexes. I got my book, the book on rental property investing, a bunch of other cool stuff. So again, that's door prize number 1 just for showing up. Write that link down on your worksheet, biggerpockets.com/books, biggerpockets.com/books. And we will chat more a little bit later about that if you want to know more. But again, don't let it distract you. If you guys are here in this webinar, be present. All right, door prize number 2 and 3. I'm going to give you a little bit later in today's webinar. But the first or second door prize is going to be the entire slide deck from today's webinar. The entire slide deck. So all 134 slides I'm going to give you guys a little bit later. And I'm going to give you something that I think you guys will like a lot called 7 Years to 7-Figure Wealth. A roadmap to earning your first $1 million by investing in small multifamily properties. Now, this ebook is kind of similar to today, but a whole different strategy. And this strategy is about how to use properties like small multifamily properties and something that I call a cash flow recycling. This process called cash flow recycling and how you can quickly scale up to $1 million in net worth, just starting with barely anything in 7 years. It's pretty awesome. I'll give you that a little bit later. All right, so before I get into the actual BRRRR strategy, let's make sure you guys know who I am and so why I'm talking about this stuff. My name is Brandon. That's my wife there, Heather. We've been investing in real estate for an entire decade now. I was 21 when I started. I'm 31 now. We have a little over 50 units right now. Yeah, there's my wife, Heather. She's amazing. That's my buddy, Charlie. He's my dog. That's my other dog, Ruby. And this is the light of my life. This is Rosie Lou. We gave birth to her. Well, my wife did. I can't say I did a whole lot, but my wife gave birth to Rosie last May. She is just unbelievably precious. In fact, you guys want to see something really, really cute? Check this out. I'm like the proud dad, right? That's like showing off pictures. Check this out. My wife sent me this a couple days ago. This is seriously the cutest thing in the entire world, right? Isn't that the cutest thing you've ever seen? I love her. Okay, so anyway, that's why I invest in real estate. That's why I'm so hardcore about this, because I wanted to make sure that when I'm older, that when I was 21, I said, someday I'll have kids. I want to make sure that I'm the best father on the planet. I want to be there every single ball game, every single dance recital, every single field trip. Doesn't matter. I want to be there for my kid to help raise them and to love on them my entire life. And that's why I jumped in so hardcore. And 10 years later, here I am, able to hang out with my daughter all day long. I work, I work from home because I'm a real estate investor, and it worked exactly the way I wanted it to. And I want to encourage you guys, pick a goal. Why are you in this game? Get that good why, that reason behind working hard. It's amazing. All right, so who am I? I'm a real estate investor first and foremost. I do this. This is my main gig in life, is to invest in real estate. I have a little over 50 units right now. I do mostly BRRRR investing, what we're talking about tonight. I do a lot of fixture upper rental properties. And I'm currently looking to expand into nationwide mobile home parks for no real reason other than I find it kind of a fascinating niche. I've heard a few podcasts. I interviewed some people that do it, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to do that next. So I'm still buying locally, but I also want to start looking for things like mobile home parks, maybe in some larger apartments. I'm also the author of 3 books. 3 physical books: the book on investing in real estate with no and low money down, the book on rental property investing, and the book on managing rental properties, which I don't know a picture of. And I'm the co-host of the Bigger Pockets podcast. Maybe you've heard me there. And random fact, I like to give a random fact in every webinar. Today's random fact about me, just to get to know me a little better. I once played the fairy godmother in my high school version of Cinderella. That's right. I was the fairy godmother, and I wore a tutu, I wore army boots, and I had this gigantic medieval mace. It was amazing. It's amazing. But I'm also, like I said, a BRRRR fanatic. Most of my real estate portfolio has been built using this method. And before I get to the exact, I'm going to show you an example of the cedar, like the house I call the cedar BRRRR. I'll show you that in a second. But first, I wanted to just tell you guys real quickly. So when I got started, I had no idea what I was doing. I mean, I didn't know anything about real estate at all. All I knew was I was raised by a garage sale mom, which every Saturday morning, pack up the kids, go to 20 garage sales. She would negotiate this pair of pants was $1 and she negotiated it down to 33 cents, right? It was my mom was that, and she's amazing. So I just knew to buy cheap. And so I started buying cheap properties when I got into real estate, and I made a ton of mistakes. I don't want to say I had no idea, but I had pretty much no idea what I was doing. I mean, I just bought stuff because it was cheap, and I screwed up a lot, lost money on some stuff, started flipping houses, kind of floundered in that a little bit. I remember one time I flipped a house that ended up costing me 2 years of my life, and I lost $10,000 on it. However, had I kept that as a BRRRR rental property, had I done the BRRRR strategy on it instead of flipping it, I'd be making $1,000 a month in cash flow right now. I'd be making $1,000 a month in cash flow. I would have been done in a quarter of the time, and I'd have $100,000 in equity. No, stupid Brandon decided to try to be cool and flip that property, ended up losing 10 grand. I want to make sure you guys don't make the mistake. So we're going to talk about math today and numbers, and we're actually going to look for a real life property later, if that's cool, on how to kind of analyze it, how to look at it from a BRRRR perspective. So, all right, let's go into this thing. The Cedar BRRRR property, the Cedar BRRRR property. Like I said, I want to give you guys some concrete examples of what a BRRRR property looks like, a BRRRR deal looks like, so you understand. First of all, this property, I bought it for $70,000. I spent about $2,000 on closing costs, which means like, all the legal fees when you buy a property. And then I spent about $35,000 on repairs. About $35,000 on repairs. So my total cost of this thing is about $107,000. Does that make sense? Everybody on the same tracking with me right now, right? So I bought it for 70, put in 35. Now, how did I fund this? I used a private lender. Somebody that I met on BRRRR, and I connected with them, and we became friends, started talking about what he had and what I had, and he was looking to lend out his money and I was looking to get money, right? So we created a relationship. So I borrowed that money from this guy. Now, let me go back over to my slides here and we'll walk through. That was kind of before. Now, at the time, I thought the property, when it was all fixed up, I thought it'd be worth about $145,000. I thought it'd be worth about that. Now, by the way, when I did this deal, I borrowed, now I don't want to get too drawn down in the details here, but I borrowed about $90,000 from the lender, which means I did have to come out of pocket with about $17,000. Now, if I didn't have that $17,000, in fact, I think I ended up putting it on credit card or a line of credit from the bank on that one. But if you don't have that, there's a lot of options. Don't freak out. If you guys don't have any money right now, don't freak out. We'll talk about that later, some strategies if you don't have any money. But anyway, so I figured it'd be worth about $145,000. So I went to the bank and sure, it appraised after I think it was after 1 year though. I might've done it after 6 months. About after a year, I went and refinanced the property. By the way, holding costs, Edward asked holding costs. That's part of repairs. I included it in here. So $35,000 on repairs and holding costs during the rehab. It was only 3 months worth. Then we got to rent it out to a nice family for about $1,000 a month. And in fact, I probably could have rented it out for like $1,200 or $1,300, but I gave the guy a discount because he was like a local church pastor. And honestly, I didn't look that close in what rents were until after I told him $1,000. And then I wasn't going to like jacket on him because he's a church pastor, right? So anyway, so I charged about $1,000 a month in rent. And then I refinanced it and I ended up only pulling out $90,000. I paid out the private lender, but I kept my $17,000 invested in. Don't worry too much about that. But that's what I did. Then at the end of the day, I was cash flowing while I owned it about $200 a month after the refi. After I was done with the refi, I was cash flowing about $200 a month. Now, somebody asked if I had before and after pictures. Yeah, let me show you real quick. Well, let me finish the story first. 2 years later, a year and a half later, the tenant moved out. The pastor of that church moved out. And I had a decision to make. Do I want to keep it or I want to sell it? And so I decided to actually go and sell it at that point. I sold it for $165,000. I got an offer within 24 hours. And at the end of the day, I made a little over $40,000 on that investment. So if you guys want to know a lot more details on this property, let me show you. Well, let me show you the pictures first. I'll give you a link later in the webinar. So stay tuned a little bit later. But let me give you a link. Hold on. Or let me show you some pictures. I wrote a blog post recently that went really detailed through this deal. So let's see if I can find it here. Okay, here we go. So this is not going to be super in depth. I mean, it's super in depth, but it's not going to be super clear for you guys. Okay, so let me show you before and after pictures. So here, can I make these bigger at all? A little bit. Okay, so there's what it looked like before. You guys see that? There's one of the bedrooms. I love the carpet, that shag carpet. I love the bathroom right here. All right, awesome. Right here, we got some green shag carpet. That's even better. And it's paneling. I love that. Look at that beautiful kitchen. It's actually a really good sized kitchen with nice wood cabinets, but just kind of dated. Ugly little back garage. So here's the after photos once we were done. You can see it's a nice camera and it was a nice sunny day, but there's that same room with that shade carpet. It's now all nice and cleaned. Got the bathroom all clean, new flooring, paint, all that good stuff. Put in the laminate wood flooring throughout, painted the fireplace, painted the paneling. There's the kitchen. We actually kept the original cabinets, put on new hardware, new countertops, new appliances, new flooring, and really turned out nice. Didn't do much to the back garage, but yeah, painted it. So that's kind of the before and after of that property. Kind of cool, right? All right. So by the way, somebody asked, where was this at? This is out in Western Washington where I live. I live about an hour and a half south of Seattle. So let's go back to our slides here. That was that property, right? So I made about $40,000 on that property. Now, a couple other cool things with that is with BRRRR investing, if you hold a property for more than a year, your taxes drop significantly. It becomes what's called a long-term capital gains versus short-term capital gains, which could be the difference of like on this deal, it's a difference of about $10,000 I saved by holding the property. Furthermore, when I bought it, what I thought it was worth, what was that? Do you guys remember? I thought it was worth 145, and that's what it appraised at. A year and a half later, I sold it for 165. Why? Because I bought in a great neighborhood, because BRRRR investing is really ideal for good neighborhoods. I bought in a great neighborhood and the price just took off with the economy, right? Now, if I was in a bad neighborhood, that wouldn't be as well. At the same time, I got a loan and I was paying the loan off a little bit. So BRRRR investing basically combines this idea of, flipping with a rental property. It takes the benefits of both and combines them together. Now, there are downsides. We'll talk about those in a minute. And we're also going to walk through a process where you can make six figures. But I want to give you a couple more examples first. So let's burn through I'm not going to spend a lot of time on other examples. I'll just kind of run through the numbers real quick. So, by the way, Tony said, how many people do we have on right now? So we just crossed the 1,000 mark. You guys, there are 1,003 people here right now. Isn't that crazy? There's more people here right now than my entire high school. Well, I went to high school in Minnesota. We had like 900 people in my high school. There was 1,000 people here. You guys rock. All right, so let's keep going and go through the other examples of BRRRR investing and why I love this. All right, so this property was a fourplex that I actually turned into a fiveplex. Now, there's a long story on why I did that and how I did that, but that's not the topic today. But I bought this property. I paid $90,000 for it. Incredible deal, right? I will admit that, right? I will admit that was an incredible deal. However, guess what? The bank wasn't asking at $90,000. They started at $150. And again, my area is a little bit cheaper, but it's okay. If these numbers freak you out, just add a zero on it. It doesn't matter if it makes more sense in your head that way. But they started at $150,000. Nobody wanted it. 130, 140, 130. It was at 125, and I offered them 90. Now, here's a tip. You guys, here's a tip for everybody out there. One of my favorite real estate investing tips out there. Whenever you make an offer on a property, always include a letter that has a picture of you and your wife or you and your husband. Why? Because at the end of the day, there's always a person making the decision. Even in a bank repo, this was a bank repo. I included a letter with it that said, hey, my wife and I love properties in this area. We would love to take on this project. We think we can make it look really cool. It'd be really, really beneficial for the community. Cute little picture of me and my wife, right? And sure enough, they didn't even negotiate. 90,000, no problem at all. In fact, I've had, just last week, I had a friend, I told them to do that. They're actually trying to buy a house from themselves. Cute young couple. They want to buy the house for themselves. And so I was like, you guys, they were competing. They were competing with this other couple of people putting in offers on this deal. I was like, guys, if you want the deal, make a letter, picture of you and yourself on it. Guess what? They got the offer and they were specifically told the reason that they went with them is because they had a picture and it had a letter with it. So little just tidbit tip for you there. I think it works like amazing. So, all right. So got the deal. I bought it for 90, 2,500 in closing costs about, and then I spent about 7,500 bucks on repairs. It didn't need a whole lot. It didn't need a ton, but it did need that fifth unit. I need to fix up. I needed to put some doors on it. I needed to put some carpet down and I needed to paint it. And then just a little bit of other random things just to make it nice. So we spent about 7,500 bucks in repairs. So total into the deal, $100,000. Got about 100 grand into it. Now, that property then appraised for I think it was like 160. It came in right around 160 was the ARV, the after repair value. So we got ARV of 160. The refinance, I went and got a new loan and I got $90,000 in the refinance. Now, how did I finance this deal? This is another one. I met a private lender on BRRRR, just somebody who was an investor. We started talking. We built a relationship. You guys see a pattern here? I mean, I've done entire webinars on private lending, which if you want to watch, if you're a pro member, you can watch previous webinars and go watch replays. If you guys are pro members, go watch the webinar replay of how to attract private lending. I talk a lot more detail about that. If you're not a pro member, you guys should totally become pro members. And if you hang around to the end, I'll even have a discount code for you. If anybody's interested in being pro, I'll have a code. So hang tight for the end for that. But so appraised at 160, I went and got a new loan and I only took out just enough to pay back the private lender. I didn't take out, I could have taken out more, but I wanted to keep my payment as low as possible. So I refied for 90,000. Now my cash flow on this property every month is about $1,000 a month. Some months are like 1,200, some are 8, but on average, we clear about $1,000 a month on this property. Not too bad, right? Furthermore, I had $70,000 of equity in this property because it appraised at 160. However, that was 2 years ago. In fact, today, this property, I believe it would go between 175 and 185, which means I probably have more like $90,000 in equity in this property. Pretty awesome, right? That's BRRRR investing for you. Here's another example. Purchase price. I bought this property for $565,000. I spent about $5,000 in closing costs and I spent about $60,000 in repairs. When I was all done, I had about $630,000 into it. I used seller financing. I used a home equity line of credit. I used a partner to help me. I used a lease option. I used a bunch of different strategies to pull this off. And today's not really the conversation for that. If you want to know more about that, I'll tell you later where you can find out my actual story. But ARV, when we went to get it appraised at $925,000. So I went and got a refinance. I got a new loan. I paid off the existing loan. The new loan I got was for $650,000, which means I actually made $20,000 that time. I kept 20 grand to be able to stick in savings. And today I cash flow about $3,000 a month on this property, right? About $3,000 a month on this apartment complex. So you guys understand kind of, and I have about $275,000 in equity. And in fact, today, I would actually value that apartment at over $1 million today. We've raised rent fairly significantly. And properties, multifamilies are valued based on how much rent comes in and the expenses go out. So today I value it around $1 million. In fact, I might even sell it soon for $1 million. So I probably have closer to $375,000, maybe $350,000 in that deal. Pretty cool, right? Plus every month the loan's going down. Every year rents go up, and it's a long-term investment. All right, so enough about me. Let's talk about the strategy for making six figures with BRRRR. But actually, before I do that, some of the benefits, you may have known this. First of all, BRRRR investing combines the equity growth of flipping with the cash flow of rentals. I mentioned that already, right? So when you flip properties, you make a big chunk of money, but then it's gone forever. When you buy a rental property, you typically have no equity because you just put, whatever you put as a down payment, but you don't really have any equity. So if the economy crashes, you're underwater. With BRRRR investing, you get the equity growth of flipping and the cash flow of rentals. Like, understand how cool this is. I don't know if you guys understand how cool this is, but this is like the coolest strategy because you're offsetting risk of what if the economy drops because you have equity in anything that you buy. You're also, there's more benefits. Let me go back to the benefits. I get carried away with the benefits because I love BRRRR investing. There's a reason that I love this. So let's go on. So you combine the equity. Also, you get serious equity now, you get serious cash flow now. You get great stuff both. Next, there's less competition for nasty deals. There's less competition. In other words, how many people are out there looking for smelly, gross, rotten properties? Now, I'm not saying you need to buy the most disgusting property in the world, but you're not competing with all the, husband and wife, cute couple with the 3.5 kids that are like, we need a nice kitchen and a nice front porch and it needs to be painted white. And, you're not competing with those people. You're competing with other investors who are all looking for a good deal. And here's the other cool thing about that. And I think I maybe mentioned this later, but in the slides, but when you're competing with other investors, guess what? You can do what most landlords can't do because you're buying fixer-uppers, and you can pay more than flippers can do because you're not flipping. In other words, you're competing. There's less competition. The only ones you're competing against are investors, and you can pay more than what most investors can do. It's pretty awesome. All right. Also, with the BRRRR investing, you can get creative with the financing. In fact, you can do real estate with no money down. In fact, that 24-unit apartment complex, I didn't put any of my own money into that deal. And in fact, I pulled out $20,000 in profit when I refinanced it. The other deals I could have done with no money down, but I chose to keep my payment a little lower, and I had the cash sitting around for those deals. So I used a little bit of cash on those deals, but far less than 20%. Also, long-term capital gains tax. Like I said earlier, you get the lower tax, and you could potentially do a 1031 exchange. Now, if you don't know what that is, don't worry too much about it. But basically, it means when you sell a property, you can defer your taxes almost indefinitely. Now, there's a lot more that goes into that. If you want to know more about that, Amanda Hahn, my CPA, wrote an amazing book on it. We published it at BiggerPockets. Go to biggerpockets.com/taxbook. So lastly, there are 4 ways to get rich through real estate. It's called the 4 wealth generators, and BRRRR investing takes into account all of them. It takes into account cash flow, appreciation, the loan getting paid down, and tax benefits, all 4 of them, in a way that no other investment really does. Like, rental properties take advantage of all 4, but BRRRR investing just puts it on steroids. And that's what I love about it. All right, so let's get into now you guys are convinced. You're like, okay, I love BRRRR investing. It sounds awesome. How can we make 6 figures with this? So, and lastly, it's fun. I love renovating properties. I don't even do the work. I hire it all out, but I love seeing properties get turned around. You guys, I'm doing a BRRRR right now on a fourplex that I bought for my little daughter, like little Rosie Lou, you know, like this little thing right here, right? So when she was like 6 days old, we bought her a fourplex. We bought it for cheap, 45,000. We're putting over 100 grand into it. When it's all done, we're going to refinance it. At that point, we'll be making about $1,000 a month in cash flow. And then we're going to put it on a 15-year mortgage. Why? Because in 15 years, she'll be 16 years old, roughly, or 15. Yeah, she'll be about 16 years old then, because we'll refi it when she's 1. We're going to put it, she'll be 16 years old. That property will be worth over $250,000. We will owe nothing on it. So what happens when a kid's like 16, 17 years old? That's right. They're getting ready to go to college, which means that I'm doing a BRRRR deal that I'll have none of my own money into at the end of the day. After the refi, I won't have any money into the deal, hopefully, if I get that refi, the full amount. And then the tenants are going to pay it off over 15 years, which means my daughter's college education is completely funded by the time she was 6 days old. Pretty awesome, right? And I'm not funding it. My tenants are going to pay for her college over the next 15 years by using the BRRRR strategy. In fact, every child I have, if I have more kids, which I probably will, I like kids. If I have more kids, every kid gets a property the week they're born. Like, it's such an awesome, cool strategy that nobody's doing, but it's so easy to do and simple. Maybe simple is a better word, but man, like, I love this stuff. All right. So how to make 6 figures with BRRRR. All right. So understand this. As I go through these numbers, don't get your undies in a bundle because the prices don't look like your area. All right. So don't be like, oh, well, Brandon used an example of 150,000, but I can't buy that because I live in San Francisco. So I'm going to go back to watching Dancing with the Stars and eating Cheetos on the couch. Right. Don't put a 0 on it if it makes you feel more comfortable. It doesn't matter. All right. The most important thing is understanding the concept behind this. So first of all, the first thing I'll explain is that when you're buying a property, let's say I would recommend buying a property at 80% of the value minus the repairs. Now, how did I come up with that? So in other words, if the value of a property is $200,000, take 80% of that and then subtract out the repairs. The reason that I suggested that number is because house flippers use what's called the 70% rule. They do the same thing, house flippers, but they use 70%, which means let's say we had $200,000 times 80%. That's 160, right? Yeah, 160. Is that 20? Yeah, it's 160 minus the $25,000. You're at 35, right? 135 you can pay for the property. A flipper though would have to pay like 125 for the property, or no, 115, right? So you can pay way more than a flipper. And that's why I said 80%. It's kind of an arbitrary number just to use an example. But that's what I'm saying is if you're like, no, I can't buy properties 80% minus repairs. Well, how is every flipper in America doing it, right? Every house flipper is doing it. So don't say you can't. Ask the question, how can you? So again, if we bought it for, if it was worth 200 when it's fixed up, times 80% minus the repairs, we could maybe pay 135 for this property. Now, at the end of the day, we're going to spend the 25 on the rehab. Let's say 25 on the rehab, another 5,000 in closing costs. We're into the total deal. We're into this thing for 165. So now we go to the bank and we try to get a new loan for $165,000. Now, maybe the bank will give you that much, maybe not. Maybe they'll only give you 150. You know, some banks will give you 80% of the value. Some will give you 90, some will give you 70, right? Most common is probably 80%. But let's just say they give you 165. Okay. So our immediate equity would be $35,000. Is everybody tracking at this point? Everybody kind of understanding what I'm talking about? All right. So in year 1 with this property, but we're going to do a 5-year hypothetical. Over 5 years, if we bought it, our loan was for 165. The value of the property was 200 grand. So our equity is $35,000. Now, if you recall, I talked about the 4 wealth generators and a couple people asked about what that was again. So that was cash flow, meaning every month you get money coming in. Then you have appreciation, means over time, property values tend to go up. Then you have the loan pay down, which means every month the loan balance drops. So you've got the property value going up and the loan going down, and the spread in between is your equity, right? Does that make sense? And then lastly, you have tax benefits, which we're not going to talk about right now, but that's just one more benefit. So let's go back and I want to show you what this looks like over time. So year 1, we got 165. It was worth 200 and we have $35,000 equity. But year 2, we've paid the loan down a little bit. We don't owe 165 anymore. We've now paid 163. But the values climb because I'm just doing 3%. That's been the average inflation over the past 100 years. So we're assuming the property went up in value, which means now our equity is $43,000. The difference between the loan, what we owe, and the value of the property is $43,000. Year 3, we've now paid the loan down to about $160,500. The values climbed to like 212. So now we've got $50,000 in equity. Next, year 4, we've got 158 loan. We paid the loan down a little bit more. Our value went up to 218. Equity is now at $60,000. And finally, at year 5, we should owe about 155. Our value is at about 225, and we now have $70,000 in equity. Now, let me ask you a question. I actually want you guys to actually in the chat room, go ahead and type this in. I won't make fun of anybody. I'll make it public chat again. If you sold the property, how much did you guess? If you sold this property at the end of year 5 and you sold it for what it was valued at, 225, how much would you probably have in profit at the end of the day? What do you guys think? What would you have in profit at the end of the day? All right, so Nate says 63, Edward said 45, Kumar said 70, Thomas 70, lots. Suzanne said 50. All right, so you guys, I'm not saying this exactly, but you're gonna pay a realtor, probably 6%. You're probably gonna lose a good 20 grand to closing costs. So I would guess you're gonna clear about $50,000. That would probably be about my guess. And the reason I say it, let's go back one more time. Remember, if you have 70,000 in equity, right? In equity, which means that's how much basically profit you've made, but you got to pay a realtor probably 15 grand, and then the title company maybe 20 or 5 grand. So you're looking at about $20,000 in expenses, which means you're clearing about $50,000. Now that does not include the cash flow. You've been making cash flow every single month, right? Carl said, did you add in the cash flow? I didn't. So I did not add in the cash flow simply because I want to show you guys what it's like, even if you were to break even. Even if you were to break even on this property. Now, I'm never suggesting that you break even, but even if you did, we still cleared $50,000. Now, if you had another $200 a month on that, that's $2,400 a year times 5 years is, what's that, 70 something hundred, like almost $8,000 more. And also remember this, that $50,000 is taxed at the lower long-term capital gains rate and has no self-employment tax on it, which again can save you a ton of money. So let me ask you this, based on that deal, what if you did 2 BRRRR deals per year? So what if you did 2 of those a year? Here's what hypothetically, if you bought, now follow this, is very, very important. If you guys are out Snapchatting and Facebooking right now, zone in on this one thing, understand this. If you just bought 2 of those per year, and then you sold 2 BRRRR deals per year, you could realistically generate $100,000 per year in income at a lower tax bracket than normal or total tax rate after 5 years. Does that make sense? So again, if year 1 you bought 2 of them, in year 2 you bought 2 of them, year 3 you bought 2 of them, year 4 you bought 2 of them, in year 5 you bought 2 of them. That's it. And that's all you're doing, right? And then you started every year after that, year 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, you bought 2 and you sold 2, right? If I know life is not that plain and simple, but let's just say that you did, right? You could essentially make 50 grand on every one of those deals. And if you were selling 2 a year, 50,000 a year, or 50,000 per deal, and you did 2 of them a year, that's 100 grand a year. Taxed lower than everyone else, which means the doctor who makes 100 grand a year and you who make $100 off rental properties, guess who gets to keep more money? You do, because the government loves real estate investors. And so they reward us for doing real estate. So really you're like, it's the equivalent of you making like $130,000 or $140,000. Now, maybe you don't want to do 2 a year. Maybe you want to do 1 a year. Could you use an extra $50,000? What in your life would change with an extra $50,000? Or what if you don't want the money now? What if you were to just keep doing that? Keep doing that. And then whenever you make money, use that to buy more. Or what if you were to do that same process, but anytime you made money, you use it as a down payment on a bigger property. So you went from a couple little houses to maybe some small multis, to maybe a larger apartment complex, to maybe 100 unit, to maybe owning 1,800 units. Last weekend, I hung out with my buddy, Andrew Cushman. Andrew Cushman's been on the Bigger Pockets podcast, episode 170. Andrew owns 1,800 properties. 1,800, well, sorry, I said units, 1,800 units. Do you know how he got there? by BRRRRing multifamilies. He would buy, rehab, rent out, refinance, and repeat the process over and over again. He does it mostly without his own money because he's just doing the BRRRR strategy. And Andrew is an amazing example of it. And there's lots of other guys that are doing this too. I mean, this is a very common strategy, especially with apartment buildings. It's called repositioning apartments. It's pretty awesome. Now, what are the dangers and risks? Let's cover those. First of all, if you don't buy low enough, you're going to have a problem. Why? Because you can't refinance it. I mean, let's just go back to that analogy, the story. Remember the story I told you earlier about the property I bought at $70,000 and then I put 35 into it and it appraised for 145 and remember that whole story? All right. So what if the property, when I was all done with it and I had $107,000 invested, what if the appraisal came back at only 110? Well, the bank's only going to give me a loan for maybe 80% of the value, maybe 70, maybe 75, 80, right? So what am I going to do? I would have a big problem on my hands. So when you're doing the BRRRR strategy, you have to buy a great deal. You have to get a great deal. You have to use your mind like a house flipper would or like a wholesaler would. You've got to go out there and find amazing, amazing deals. Now we'll talk about that in a minute. We'll actually go and do a live deal together. We'll look for one that we can do this on, but you don't buy low enough. Secondly, if you can't get the refinance, now maybe your credit is crap. Maybe you have no income because you don't have a normal job, right? So you go to the bank and get a refinance, you're going to have a problem if you can't get it. Now, there are ways to overcome this though. For example, like the easiest way is just bring in a partner. Find a partner who you want to do this with, maybe somebody on BRRRR, maybe somebody at a local real estate club that you meet, maybe a family member or a friend, and why don't you do this together? Find somebody who's got great credit and great income and who can get the refinance and just do these together. You do the work, they get the refi, and everybody wins, right? They don't have to do anything. They just have to put their name on a bank loan and everybody wins. In fact, I've done that as well. When I couldn't get a loan because I didn't have a job, because I was doing the real estate thing, the flipping all by myself, like I couldn't get loans. So I just brought in partners and they did it. I mean, which is better? Let me ask you guys a question. Which is better? 50% of a deal that's awesome or 100% of a pile of dog doo-doo, right? I mean, like nothing, right? It's better to share the deal than have nothing, right? I don't care if you own 100% of nothing, it's still nothing. Do a deal with somebody if you have to. That's one great way to overcome a lot of these objections. A lot of the problems is just bring in a partner if you need to. Another one, the first loan is too short and time runs out. Now, typically speaking, this is very important, so listen close here. In order to do the BRRRR strategy correctly, the bank that you're going to go to get the refinance from, they usually want 12 months from beginning to end. They want 12 months of you owning the property before you get the new loan. Now, there are some banks that will do 6 months, but I would plan on 12 months if I were you, because more and more banks are saying 12. What does that mean? It means that the initial loan, the short-term loan you get, maybe that's private money, maybe it's a hard money loan, maybe it's a home equity line of credit, whatever it is, make sure that short-term loan is at least 18 months, a year and a half. So I would not do a 6-month loan because it would run out and you'd have a problem, right? So 18 months is what I do whenever I do a short-term loan. All right, fourth, you suck at being a landlord. I mean, let's be honest. If you do the BRRRR strategy right and you have tons of equity and tons of cash flow, if you suck at being a landlord, you're still going to lose all your money and go bankrupt, right? Like now you could hire a property manager, but you got to still know what you're doing to be able to manage the manager. You still have to do that. Therefore, understand this, to cover the first 3 issues, or at least the first 2, the biggest problem is this. The biggest danger of all BRRRR investing is this. If you don't buy low enough, because the math matters so much, guys. The math really matters. So to avoid the biggest BRRRR pitfalls, you must do the math. You must do the math. You got to do it right. If you don't take the time up front to spend a few minutes doing mathematics, you're going to have a trouble. I always say this quote, if you don't have the right math going into a deal, you'll never get the right profit coming out of it. Say that out loud with me. I know it's weird. You're in your living room right now and you got no pants on, but say it anyway. If you don't have the right math going into a deal, you'll never get the right profit coming out of it, right? You've got to do the math. So what does that look like? Now, a lot of people are like, well, I don't know how to do the math. Well, we're going to do it together. Like I said, now there's a couple ways to do this. There's a couple ways to do the math. You can do it by hand, or you can use some software to do it, right? So for example, some people just like to do it by hand, like to grab a whiteboard and they'll spend maybe a half hour, takes about a half hour, maybe an hour to really go through the math. But doing BRRRR investing by hand is tough. I'm not going to lie. It's tough. And there's a lot of things that you can't even do by hand without calculators and really making a mess. You can also use something like, some people use Microsoft Excel. However, Excel isn't really designed for the BRRRR strategy either. And so while I used to use Excel, remember that deal I told you earlier I lost 10 grand in 2 years of my life on? Yeah, I used Excel for that one. Didn't do my math very good. I forgot a couple numbers. So that's the hard part about Excel, is because you have to build it or rely on some, person on the internet that puts it out there. It can be dangerous to use something like that. So what we did is we went and built a BRRRR calculator. We actually have a rental property calculator, a wholesaling calculator, a house flipping calculator, and a BRRRR investment calculator. And I use the BRRRR calculator all the time, because almost everything I do with a BRRRR deal. And so what it does, it makes it a whole lot easier. In fact, you can analyze an entire deal in under 5 minutes. You guys want to see? Does that sound too good to be true? Let me actually show you. We're going to actually analyze a deal together. Let's go find it right now on the MLS. So we're going to go look on realtor.com for an actual property for sale. So I'm going to go over here. Let's just type in realtor.com. Zoom back out again. Oh, there we go. Okay. Realtor.com. I'm going to go look in Aberdeen, Washington. And do you guys want to do a single family or a multifamily? We've got multi, we got single. Let's go filters. I'll go single. I think I'll go single family on this one. And I think I'm not going to do Aberdeen. I think I'll do Montesano, because 9563. I think I'll do Montesano. This is the town that I live in, Montesano, Washington. So there's houses at 186, 134, 230, 289, 290, 294. You can see there's a little range here, right? All the way up to 850. Wow, that's a nice big house. I like to buy cheaper houses though. And in fact, this one right here is the cheapest house located in my area. It is a 3-bedroom, 1-bath. Let's see, what else can we find out? This single family residence is a welcoming home that sits on a reasonably sized lot. This property is located in the city of Montesano, built in 1924, 3-bed, 1-bath. Okay, it doesn't really tell us a whole lot. Any good pictures of it? Not a lot. We can't, that's it. We can't even see inside the thing. So the fact that they don't have pictures inside tell me it's probably a rental. It's probably nasty. You probably need some work, but you know what? Does that scare us away, guys? Nope. In fact, I can see that it sold for $117 back in 2005. It doesn't scare me away. Why? Because I like the fixture deals. Nobody else is buying this. This has been on the market for how many days now? 73 days, which means that they might take a low offer. This is kind of an ideal property. I love looking at stuff like this. All right, so we're going to start with this one. I know some people wanted this multifamily, and you can do it on multifamily as well, but this property is actually one that I really am interested in doing a BRRRR on. So you guys are going to see actually how I do this. So let's go ahead and do this together. So I'm going to go open up biggerpockets.com/ let's go analysis. Go to biggerpockets.com/ analysis. You land here. Oh, let's zoom out the page a little bit. We're so big. Okay, here we go. Click here to start my analysis. We're going to do, again, the BRRRR calculator. Here it is. I'm going to start a new report. Okay. Report title. This is the Chehalis house in Monty. Just so I know what it is. I just want to call it something. Property address, 220 South Chehalis Street, Montesano, Washington, 98563. Annual property taxes. Oh, no, I don't know what those are. Brandon, I quit. I'm going to go back to watching Dancing with the Stars and eating nachos and Cheetos, right? That's what people do. They quit because things get hard. But understand this, guys. BiggerPockets is not going to let you quit. Now, you could quit on your own, but we're going to be there every step of the way. So example of that, look at this. Every step of this process, if you hover over the question marks, we teach you how to do this. For example, annual property taxes. How much are the annual whole year property taxes for the property? If unsure, this information is typically publicly available on your county assessor's website. Well, okay, let's go over to Google and go to Grays Harbor County. All right, let's go there. And I know where it's at. I know it's up here in site features, and everyone's a little bit different. I'm gonna go to, here we go. Okay, so this is what my county's thing look like. Yours will look a little different. That's okay. I always mess up when I'm spelling this. Chehalis. Let's look for the property. Here we go. Here's our property. We can see it's owned by something called Argent Securities. Interesting. We can see, again, some information about sale price. We can see that the bank, whoever this is, looks like they took it back maybe for $97,000. It's probably a bank repo. I can see that taxes were $1,421 a month. All right, there we go. So let's go put that in there. 1422. I can put the MLS number if I want to. I don't really care to. I can upload a property photo. I think I'll take one of these photos from the, yeah, this is a good photo to take. I'll take that photo. I'm just going to drag it to choose file. That's all I'm going to do is drag it to choose file. In the sales description, I can either write something or, you know what, I'm just going to copy what the agent wrote. You know, that seems easy enough for me. And that's it for page 1. Everyone feeling comfortable? Nod your head if yes. Nod your head. Come on. Come on. All right, good. I know a lot of you are freaking out right now. You're like, can he see me? I'm in my underwear. No, I can't see you. All right, purchase price. What are we going to buy this property for? It's been on the market for a while. What do you guys think? 86 is what they're asking, but I'm not going to, I mean, it's been on the market for like, 2 months, almost 3. Let's offer a little less. Let's offer 75,000. What happens then? What's the after repair value? Well, I don't know how to figure that out. I quit. I'm going to go eat some more nachos. No, hover over the question mark, people. And look at this. There's even a link to an article on how to estimate the after repair value. Again, are you willing to put in the work or not? So I know, because I'm very familiar with this town, I live here, and I know what properties are. I know the after repair value for a property that's a 3-bedroom, 1-bath is about $150,000. You know why I know that? Because I just sold that other property for $165,000, and it was also a 3-bedroom, 1.5-bath. So I'm gonna go a little cheaper, $150,000. Now I gotta pay some closing costs, probably $2,500, and I gotta fix the property up. Now we have to make a big guess here, right? We have not been inside the property, we don't know. And so typically I'd probably go want to look at the property at some point, but we're just gonna make a guess. I'm gonna think that's probably $30,000 to fix this property up. You know what? Let's even go a little bit higher. Let's say 35. We're gonna think this house needs a lot of work because they're not even showing pictures. It probably needs a lot of work. Does that sound good? Everybody tracking with me so far? Everybody tracking with me so far? All right, good. So now we've got our initial. Remember, BRRRR stands for buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. Now we're in the buy process. How are we gonna buy it? With a private money lender maybe? Or maybe a hard money loan? How about this? What if we bought the property? Well, we can see that we paid 75 and 35 for repair costs. That's what? 75 and 35 is 110 plus maybe 2,500. So we're at about 112,000 into this deal at this point. So we need to figure out how much we want to borrow from a private money lender. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and say that I'm going to borrow, let's say $110,000. Now I'm going to find a private lender. In fact, I've got multiple lenders that I work with because I've built relationships with them. I mean, right now, guys, if you've got a deal, private lending is all over the place. You have to get out there and find some deals. And I'm going to pay this private lender, how about 10%? That's pretty typical of what I pay a private lender. Now it's going to be an interest-only loan. I'm not going to worry about fees and points because that's more for hard money. And if you guys get confused, hover over the question mark at any one of these. You can learn more about it. And I'm going to refinance this property 12 months later. Now, let's say we'll say 12 months later. After 1 year, I'm going to refinance this property, but it's going to take me 3 months to rehab it because I won't get any rent for the first 3 months because I'm rehabbing it. Everybody following so far? That's the purchase loan. Now we have the refinance loan that comes later. We're going to refinance it. Well, that one, let's just say we get the same number, $110,000. And that time we're doing an actual bank loan. So we're going to get a 5% interest. I'll probably have to pay around $3,000 in closing costs. And it's probably going to be a 30-year mortgage. I'm going to skip the cap rate because that's more for commercial properties. And that's it. That's it for page 2. I know that's a little bit long, but you guys work through this on your own. You guys will learn how to do this in a heartbeat. Next, we have our income. So what does this thing rent for? Every month, what's it rent for? Well, if you don't know how to figure that out, hover over the question mark. But I know a property like this, fixed up in great condition because it's in a great neighborhood. I know that. Chehalis is a great street. I know that this house is going to be beautiful because I'm putting 35 grand into it. I think I can get probably $1,300 a month in rent on this property. So any other monthly income? Not really. Now, because it's a house, the tenant will pay their own electricity. The tenant will pay their own, you know what? I'm actually going to go change this to 1,200 because I want to be more conservative as much as I can. I don't like to overpromise, right? So let's even drop that to 1,200 and see what happens. So tenant will pay their own electricity. They'll pay their own water, sewer, garbage. There is no PMI on this. If you don't know what that is, learn about it here. They'll pay their own garbage. There is no HOA in this neighborhood. Then we've got insurance. I got to pay that. I'm a landlord. I got to pay insurance. I'm going to say probably $65 a month for that. If you don't know how to figure that out, talk to your insurance agent. That's pretty much it at this point. Now, lastly, we've got this section right here. And these are things people forget about all the time. And this can make or break a deal. You guys listen closely to this. If you're half paying attention, this is really important. Vacancy rate. You have to account for the fact that the property will sit vacant part of the year. I'm going to usually use 5% for that. That's just what I like to do. Now, luckily, because we already fixed this property up, we just spent 35 grand. Hopefully we don't have a lot of repairs and CapEx. Repairs are things that tenants break. CapEx are things that break over time, like putting a new roof on it, new windows. But we're already doing a ton of CapEx up front and a ton of repairs. So I usually go a little bit less on these. I might even go 5% and 5%. Maybe I'll edge this one up to 7, so it's $84 a month, but I don't actually expect a lot of CapEx or repairs since we fixed it up so nice. Lastly, we got our property management fees. We can hire a property manager, let's say 9%. 9% for property manager is what my charges. And lastly, we have our future assumptions. What do we think the property is going to do in the future? What do we think the income is going to go up? I'm going to say, how about 2% per year? The income is going to go up. The property value will probably climb about 2% per year. My expenses will probably go up about 2% per year. And our sales expenses at the end of the day, when we sell the property someday, I got to pay a real estate agent to pay, 6%, and I got to pay closing costs. So I usually like to do 9% for sales expenses, and that's it. Now I know that took us like 7 minutes to go through, but I wanted to make sure I explained it in detail. In reality, I typically will spend no more than 3 minutes on an analysis. You can probably do it in under 5 and eventually down to 3. So the question now becomes, what do you guys think? Good deal or not a good deal? Good deal or not a good deal? I'm actually going to pop up a poll on your screen, and I'm going to see what you guys think. Good or bad? So good, bad, or you're just not sure? Sure. All right, what do you guys think? Good, bad, or not sure? Based on the numbers we saw so far, what are we thinking? Now, remember, this is a property that's just sitting on the MLS. Like, I haven't even looked at this property in real life yet, but it seems kind of cool, right? It seems kind of enticing. All right, I'm going to end the poll right in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, looks like 67% of people said good deal, 12% said bad, and 21% said they're not sure. Okay, all right. Those are good numbers to know. 66, 12, and 22 is where we're at. So let's go over and look at it. All right, based on the numbers we looked at, we've got 3 tabs here that are important. During the rehab process, these are the numbers that matter. During the private money period, when we're using private money but still renting it out, this stuff matters. And then after the refinance, this tab matters. So according to this, after the refinance, we'll be making about $114 a month, I estimate, in cash flow. That works out to a 24.87% cash on cash return. I can look over here on the side and see that after the whole deal is all said and done, I'll only have about $5,000, $5,500 of my own money. Now, were you expecting more cash flow than that? We can see how it added up. We got vacancy, CapEx, management, taxes, repairs, insurance, principal and interest. We got all that stuff here. I can see what my income comes from. I can see what the 50% rule says about this property. I can go down. I can see income expense ratio, equity, gross rent multiplier. Now here's where this gets fun. Check this out. The graph of the future. I can look at now this is just estimates, of course, but check out year 1. I can see what the income is, my expenses, my cash flow. Year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5, 10, 20, 30, right? But here's where I get excited. Check out this row here that says total profit if sold. Because remember, I'm going to look at you guys straight in the eye because it's important. Remember, we bought the property like a flip, basically, right? We made it worth a whole lot more. It was worth 150, but we didn't even have 150 into it, which means we kind of flipped it, but we kept it as a rental. So what if we kept it as a rental for 1 year and then sold it? Or what if we kept it as a rental for 2 years and sold it? The BRRRR calculator actually shows us this, which is kind of exciting. So let me show you that real quick. Where are we at? Right here. So year 1, if I sold it, I might make 21 grand. Year 2, 24. Year 3, 30. Year 5, 44,000. Remember earlier we talked about that 50,000 mark? This property might actually fit the bill. What if I kept it for 10 years or 20 years, right? Now I can also look at these graphs and look at kind of what the future looks like. I can see my equity growing over time. I started with 43,000 in equity. By year 5, 62 in equity. By year 10, 90 in equity. I can see the property value going up over time. I can see that loan getting paid off over time. Now, what if you did this in a 15-year mortgage? What would that do? We'll find out. Check this out. Hit edit the report, and we can change stuff as much as we wanted. In fact, what if we didn't like those numbers? What if I wanted more than $100 a month in cash flow? I can go in here. I'm going to change the number to 65. I'm going to drop my loan down to 100,000. I'm going to drop the next loan down to 100,000. I'm just lowering the amounts there. And what if my rent was actually $1,250? What if I actually got $1,250 from it? And I didn't really change anything else. How about? What if we just try that? I didn't change it to 15-year mortgage. I probably could have, but whatever. Let's say we kept it as a 30-year mortgage, but We just offered a little bit less. Now we're looking at $200 a month in cash flow and a 44% cash on cash ROI. That's pretty incredible, right? Now, I can tell you guys what I like. When I find a property, I don't like to buy properties unless I get at least $200 a month in cash flow. That's kind of a number that I try to stick with. On a multifamily, I usually do $100 per unit per month. And on a single family, I usually just aim for 200. So guess what tomorrow I can do now? I can offer $65,000 on this property. And are they going to say yes? I don't know. Are they? Will they say yes? Will they say no? I don't know, but it doesn't matter. Here's the beauty of real estate, guys. Your job as an investor is not to get every single deal. Your job is to work the system, work the process. Now, yes, there's the word work, right? I'm not supposed to say that because I'm trying to tell you this is all simple and easy. No, it's not always easy. But if you follow this process of analyzing deals and then making offers that make sense to you, don't get emotionally involved, make offers that make sense to you, some of them will get accepted. So are they going to accept an offer of $65,000 on this property? I probably would say it's 50-50. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. Maybe we'll settle around 70,000 or 75,000. Does that work? I don't know. Let's go plug in the numbers and find out, right? I also want to go walk through the property. Maybe it doesn't need $35,000 of work. Maybe it needs $25,000 of work, right? Maybe it needs $55,000 of work. I don't know. But the point is, do you guys understand how this process works and why I get so excited about this? Because this property, let's say you bought this property, this could be your kid's college education. This could be a vacation for your family to take your entire extended family of 50 people over to Europe for a week, right? That could be this property 10 years from now. This could be a new car for you. This could be a Tesla. This could be, real estate is not about money. It's about the things that can do for you, right? It can give you an amazing life. And that's what I love about BRRRR investing is it combines the benefits of flipping with the benefits of rental properties and makes a beautiful relationship for real estate. And I'm not again, do things always work out? Is it always perfect? Of course not. But there's some really, really sexy things with BRRRR investing that I absolutely love. Now, let me show you guys a couple more things here just so in case you're using these calculators, check this out. Click more actions. You can actually download a PDF report, or I can share a report with anybody that I want to if I choose to. So I'm actually going to share this with all of you guys. So go look in the chat room. Go look over in the chat room at the top of the chat area. And I'm going to put a link there. All of you guys can go click it and go see right here. Here's the link. So go look in the chat room. I'll put it 5 times so you can't miss it. And then here's what it actually looks like. I'll go actually show you what it looks like here. So here it is. Here's our actual deal. It shows the monthly income, the expenses before and after the refi. It shows our cash flow before and after the refi. In fact, we're actually losing $92 a month in the first year because we're using that private money loan. That's something good to know, right? We can also see here that what our cap rate would be if we care. We can see a picture of the property. I can see all the numbers we entered in, including the acquisition and the refi part. I can see our pre-refinance expenses, our post-refi expenses. I can go down and see that chart, 1, 2, 3, 4, 10, 20, 30. I can go down here and I can see the graphs going up. I can see a map of the property. And if you upload more pictures, you can upload dozens and dozens of pictures. You can even put your own company's logo on this, which I think is kind of sexy. So why is this important? Why do these reports matter? Because when you're trying to get a loan on a property, you've got to appear professional. You've got to appear clear and confident, right? You have to know what you're doing. And so what I do is every time I do a BRRRR deal, anytime I do any deal, I print out one of these PDF reports or I'll send it to my lender. Every single loan I ever do, whether it's a bank loan or a private money loan, I always send these reports because it makes people feel comfortable. It makes me feel comfortable to say, you know what? I did my homework. I've done the math. It looks good. And that's why I love it so much. So if you guys are not out there doing it, and again, if you use a spreadsheet, just make sure you got the numbers right in there and then make it look amazing. And then make sure it actually worked for the BRRRR thing. And if you don't have a spreadsheet, I would highly recommend using these calculators. So to use them, you do have to be a pro member to get unlimited access, but even a free member can go on, try it out, use it up to, I think it's 5 times each one, play with it, see what you think. If you like it, use it. If you don't, that's okay. It's a tool that I use. I think it's helpful. Let me know what you guys think. All right. So again, that's the calculators. Get to my BRRRRpockets.com analysis. Now I know we're just over the time, but I got a couple more things to wrap up. And then we got our final, what were we doing? We got the final 2 bonuses at the end. I actually have a 3rd bonus as well. So, I don't know if you call it a bonus, but I got a third thing I'll give you guys. And then we'll do Q&A at the end, talk about whatever you want to know. So if you guys got questions, hold them. We'll talk about them in just a few minutes. But I want to ask you guys 3 questions. And I want you to actually, in the chat room, answer these questions right now out loud. Well, in the chat room anyway. Type it, yes or no. Number 1, have I explained, this helps me know that I did a good job on this webinar. Do you understand the BRRRR process? Do you understand it so far? Yes or no? Do you understand kind of how it works? Second question, are you committed to living proactively this year to reach your goals? This is something that I'm such a big believer in. Most of the world simply lives reactively. They live on, it's like when something happens, they'll do it. But successful people live proactively. They say, you know what? I'm going to set a goal and I'm going to work towards that. I'm going to buy a property. I'm going to BRRRR 2 properties. I'm going to buy my first duplex. I'm going to, they live proactively. Are you committed to that? And third, are you willing to work hard to achieve your goals? Again, I'm not telling you this is get rich quick. I'm telling you this is a process that if you work it, it'll work if you work it. Now, a lot of you guys said yes. A lot of you guys said yes. And I think that's awesome. However, I say, but there's a problem. Most people, even people in this room, most people in this room will not do it. And here's why. This picture perfectly symbolizes why most people will never actually buy their first property. You know why? Because they're afraid. It feels, when you're in real estate, it feels like you're jumping off this massive cliff. You're like, I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm leaving my friends at the top, and I'm scared, and I'm jumping. And then they quit. They go back to sitting on their couch, watching what? Dancing with the Stars, eating Cheetos, and letting life pass them by, living reactively. Because that's what they feel. This is what it feels like when you jump into real estate, but that is a lie. That is not what real estate is like. And my mission out here is to like spread the word across the entire world that is a lie. This is not real estate. This is not real estate. This picture behind this picture right here, this is real estate. It is a path. Now, it's a little bit wobbly sometimes. It's not always easy. Sometimes it goes uphill. Sometimes it goes downhill. But it is a path that's been walked by millions and millions and millions of people. And your job is to simply walk on that path. The BRRRR strategy, or whatever strategy you do, whether maybe you're going to do that 7 years, a 7-figure wealth strategy that I'll give you that ebook here in a couple minutes. Like maybe you're going to do that strategy. Maybe you're going to do another strategy. There's a lot of them, right? It doesn't matter. These things have been around for many, many years. Your job is to simply walk the path, figure it out. And this is not theory, guys. Understand that this is not just something that I'm teaching because I read this in a book. This is how me and thousands of real estate investors have found financial freedom. Like this is what I did to get to where I am today, to get enough passive income to quit my job when I was 27 and retire, quote unquote retire. Because, you know, when you own rental properties, even if you own just a couple, it still takes a little bit of work. You're not just sitting on the beach doing nothing. But this is how we found financial freedom. And this is how I believe you can do the same thing. But this is huge here. It only works if you work. You guys say that out loud. Say it out loud with me. I know that's weird because you're in your kitchen or something in your underwear, but it only works if you work. So many people come to BRRRR and they're like, I want to get rich. And then they don't do anything about it, right? They never take action, and it drives me absolutely insane. Like, I bet you 90% of people at this webinar will never do anything, right? Because all of a sudden it requires work, and people don't like to work. Let me give you an example of somebody who didn't go to a webinar and sit on the couch and watch Cheetos. This is Dennis. He sent me a message a while back and it said this. Dennis said, hey, Brandon, wanted to thank you and BP after attending your webinar on how to make $1 million in real estate. That was a webinar I did last summer. I got inspired to take action. By the way, you guys can see that webinar in the pro replay room, but check this out. Last week, I closed on my first deal. I now have a triplex that is rented and will cash flow very well for me. I can now call myself a real estate investor. I have a plan moving forward and will make my business a success. You guys, isn't that awesome? That kind of email is exactly what I want to hear from you guys. I want you guys to email me a month from now or 2 months from now or a week from now. I don't care. When you get your next deal and say, you know what, Brandon, I was on your webinar on BRRRR investing. I just went and bought my first BRRRR deal. You guys, nothing in my life, well, maybe there's some things like my little girl, but very little makes me as happy as when I get those emails, because that means that I'm doing what I'm set out to do, is change lives. Because there were people that taught me this stuff and they changed my life. And guess what? I tell them when I see them, or if I'll email them and be like, dude, your book changed my life. or your webinar or whatever, your class changed my life. Like, I want you guys to tell me that when that happens. So again, don't be like the guy sitting on his couch eating Cheetos for the next 20, 30, 40 years of your life going, oh, I sure wish back in the day I would have done what Brandon was talking about, because now I'm old and eating Cheetos is getting tiring. And I watched 400 episodes of Dance with the Stars and I'm not getting anywhere, right? Don't be that guy. Be like Dennis. Go out there and take what you learned today, apply it to your life, and then crush it. You guys have the power to do that. So let's talk about a simple action you guys can take today. If you guys are like, this is what I want to do, what's the next step, Brandon? Well, let me tell you guys a simple action you can take today that'll help make your real estate journey smoother. I'm not giving you a magic bullet here. I'm telling you, I believe this can help you. We've talked about it already. I mentioned it a couple times and I said I'd even give you a discount code, and so I'll give you that now. But if you guys are thinking about maybe going BRRRR Pro, let me explain. So as a pro member, you can make smarter decisions with unlimited use of the BRRRR analysis software. In other words, you can help find the good properties, find out what amount to pay for them. You can define, hey, this one I can pay 65, this one I can pay 180, this one I can pay 450,000 for. It'll help you make offers. It'll help you keep the emotion out of it so you can make smarter decisions. Yes, no, right? Very, very important. Also, you can dive deep into education with unlimited replays of past webinars from BRRRR. If you guys enjoy this webinar, if you guys like learning this way, there's over 50 hours of webinar training in the pro replay room. I've got webinars like the 10 most common roadblocks, 10 must follow steps to buy your first rental, how to quit your job through real estate, how to buy small multifamily properties. Down here, how to make $1 million. That's the one I was telling you about. There's a wholesale one. There's how to attract private money. Go watch this one. If I started over, here's 10 things I would do to build my portfolio again, how to analyze rentals, house hacking, and so much more. So many more in there. All right. Also, as a pro member, that's not all you get for pro, actually. That is probably my biggest recommendation for joining pro, but there's actually a few other things that you get. You can post ads in our marketplace. Our marketplace is one of the most popular pages on all of BP. And if you need something, if you're looking for something, or if you have something you want to offer, use the marketplace. Hey guys, I'm looking for a duplex in Cincinnati. Go post it tonight. Make that your action step. Third, as a pro member, you can help your BRRRR profile stand out. You get that little blue, going all over. That little blue pro badge next to your name, right up here, next to my little face up there. Everywhere on the site, you get that little pro badge next to your name. So important. Also, you get that video. You can actually put a video on your profile, which is pretty awesome as well. You also get increased networking abilities. You can download unlimited files and forms. You get expanded private message ability. You can see who's looking at your BRRRR profile. And this is huge, guys, access to the pro-only forum. We have a forum that only pro members are part of on BP. So if you have a little more you want to ask questions that you only want the pros to talk about. You don't want just everybody and their uncle in the open forum talking about. It's amazing. And lastly, you help support the site that's changing how people build wealth in America. So BRRRR Pro is for people, if you're worried about buying a bad deal, you should be. Don't buy a bad deal. Do the math. If you need bank suggestions, partners, properties, post it in the marketplace. If you need to connect with investors who can help you, go to BRRRR Meet. These are all part of the pro membership. If you're looking to get noticed by the community, get that little pro badge next to your name. If you're trying to attract private money, get that video uploaded on your profile that says who you are. People are not going to give you money if they don't trust you. And they're not going to trust you based on a picture. And lastly, if you want to support BRRRR, we would love to have you as a pro member. Let me give you guys one more example before we move on of somebody who sent me a message. They said this: just wanted to say thank you for the webinar. It was very informative and gave me several good ideas. I signed up for pro and I used the calculator. You demonstrated to evaluate and make offers on 2 deals that I found. One was accepted, currently listed on the marketplace. The other, the seller was unyielding in price, even after I showed them the numbers. Oh well, they're lost. So again, just wanted to say hello and thanks. You guys see that process I was talking about? They started analyzing deals. They made an offer. They got one accepted, which is awesome. And then best of all, they didn't buy a bad deal. They refused to buy the bad deal. All right. So at the end of the day, how much is BRRRR Pro? BRRRR Pro starts at $100,000 a day. And I'm just kidding. No, BRRRR Pro is not 100 or 50 or 20 or 10. These are real life prices that some of the gurus charge for their coaching, quote unquote coaching. We don't charge that. We don't believe in that stuff at BRRRR. We want to make BRRRR Pro affordable for every single solitary person that's here on this webinar. So BRRRR Pro is $290 per year. That's not per month. That's $290 per year for all that stuff that you get, which is less than $1 a day. But like I promised, I do have a discount code for anybody choosing the pro annual option. I've got a discount and 7 bonuses for you. Well, the discount and 6 bonuses. So if you guys are interested in getting the 20% off your annual membership, which is saving $58, it takes it to $232 a year, which is like, what, 65 cents a day, I think, if I did my math right. That you can get by going BiggerPockets Pro Annual. Go to biggerpockets.com/pro upgrade and you can get that. But like I said, that's not the only, I wanted to make it painfully obvious that if you're on the fence about Pro, tonight is the night to do it. So if you guys upgrade with coupon code, what is it? 125. Let's see, where are we at? If you guys upgrade it with code 125, you guys are going to get 20% off. Plus, first thing here, you guys will get the 2012 BiggerPockets conference audio. There's over 25 hours of real estate audio training. This is the most expensive thing we sell on all of BiggerPockets. It's $300. You can buy it in the BiggerPockets store, but you can get it today for no extra charge whatsoever. It comes with your pro membership for anybody who goes pro annual tonight. Bonus number 3, if you guys want to know how to do more real estate deals without using your own money, like how do you use partnerships? How do you use private lending? This is huge. This book is probably the most important for people to read if you're trying to do BRRRR investing. How do you use a home equity line of credit, a partnership? How do you use a lease option? How do you use seller financing? All very, very important things if you don't have a lot of cash. Anyway, we're going to include a digital copy of that book. You can read it tonight on your iPad, iPhone, Kindle, computer, whatever. You can start reading that tonight. Or if you'd rather listen to it, bonus number 4, we're including the digital audio book of the book on investing with no and low money downs. You can listen to it while you're walking the dog, driving to work, whatever. Bonuses 5 and 6. Remember, this all starts with buying a good deal, right? So how do you find good leads? How do you look for good deals? I wrote a short ebook called How to Find Incredible Real Estate Deals. And you guys get that as well tonight, an ebook of that. Plus, I did 7 MP3 interviews with some of the most creative investors I know. Guys like Ben Leibovich, Chad Carson, Jay Scott, Doug Larson, Mike Simmons, Michael Blanc, and Aaron Mazzarillo. There's over 6 hours of video and audio content here, guys. That's absolutely incredible to learn from these guys. And the topic is the same on every one of these. How do you invest in real estate without using your own cash? And they share everything. It's fantastic. Bonus number 7, I did a 2-hour video recording of how to invest in real estate with no and low money down live, where I walk you through all the strategies that I've used. I walk you through everything that I've done, my own properties. I explain in pictures. We look at the numbers. Like this video alone, I believe is worth the cost of a pro membership. And you guys can get that for no additional charge tonight. As soon as you upgrade to pro, you'll get to watch it tonight if you want to. Make that your goal tonight. Watch that. Now, remember, all these bonuses and stuff come only with the annual membership. If you guys go monthly, you do get the 20% off, but I never encourage monthly only for 2 reasons. Number 1, it's cheaper. An annual membership is cheaper. Even with the discount, it's less. It's like you get 2 months for free. But more importantly than that, guys, it holds your feet to the fire to say, you know what? I'm doing this. I'm in this thing for a year. I'm in this for the rest of my life, right? Monthly, you're like, I think I'll dip my toe in a little bit. I'm nervous. I'm not really sure. But annual says, I'm committed. I'm fully in this thing. So if you're on the fence, guys, I just want to encourage you, go annual. We offer a 30-day money-back guarantee anyway. So let me know in 30 days if you're like, hey, this wasn't for me. You get to keep all the bonuses and you get that. And remember, all these bonuses only come with the annual membership. So let's do some Q&A next. I'm not a lawyer or an accountant. This is not legal or tax advice. So we're going to do some Q&A. Go ahead and any questions you guys have, go ahead and put in the chat area. But I do want to hand out those final 2 door prizes. And let me tell you those. First of all, the first door prize I gave you guys earlier, biggerpockets.com/books, BOOKS, biggerpockets.com/BOOKS. And here's the last 2 door prizes, biggerpockets.com/125slides and biggerpockets.com/7 years. Biggerpockets.com/7 years. Those are your final 2 bonuses. A couple of quick things before we do Q&A. First of all, if you guys are somebody who goes pro tonight, if you guys are like, you know what, I think I will go pro, I want you to do me a favor right now in the chat room. Let me know, hey, I'm going pro right now, or I just upgraded, or I'm upgrading tonight. Let me know in the chat room so I can give you guys a special shout out. I'll definitely try to be able to do that. Oh, let me turn the chat on public as well. So if you guys are interested in going pro, let me know. Like I said, there is a 30-day guarantee. So if you try it out and you're like, the calculators aren't for me, you just let me know in the next 30 days. We'll refund it and you get to keep all the stuff anyway. So let's say, By the way, a couple of quick shout outs. Barry just went pro. Awesome. K Wolf going pro. Thomas went pro. Tommy, Sedamir. I'm not sure if I said your name right. Probably not. Mary, Pete, Dora, Zoltan, Jill, Andy, stoked to be pro. Robert going pro tonight. It's awesome. Already pro. Pete just went pro with 3 exclamation marks. I love exclamation marks. Love that. All right. First question. Actually, before I do questions, I do have a good question here. But let me go back and show you guys, for those people who are heading out, who don't want to stick around, let me explain this. If you're already a pro member, how do you get this stuff? If you're already a pro member, write this down. Go to biggerpockets.com/webinar/bonus. biggerpockets.com/webinar/bonus and enter in code 125. If you are a pro annual, you'll get everything the pro annuals tonight got. If you're a pro monthly, you'll get the 20% off, but you can upgrade to the annual and you'll get all the goodies as well. So, all right, Dora said, absolutely, this is great. I think so too. Like, you know what's fun about doing these webinars is like, I truly actually believe like a pro membership will help somebody, right? I am fully convinced 1,000% that a pro membership, if it can help you buy one more deal for the whole rest of your life, or it can save you from buying one bad deal for the whole rest of your life, isn't that worth 65 cents a day? Right? Like that's why I love the pro membership. That's why I'm so passionate about this, and why I encourage everybody I know. I'm like, you've got to do the math. You've got to run the numbers, because when you do the math, when you run the numbers, it'll help you avoid bad deals and help you buy good ones. So get out there, do the math. You guys do your process, work hard, and you guys will achieve great things. All right. So let's do some Q&A. Any questions you guys got for me? I'm here for you. So a couple more I'll give you some more shout outs here in a minute, but before I do, Ben said this: what's the most common mistake for that BRRRR investors make, or what in BRRRR? The most common mistake I would say is, one, they don't start early enough. A lot of people don't start early enough, meaning like they wait 20 years to get into the game. That's a huge mistake. Question number 2, like they let fear stop them. Or mistake number 2 is they pay too much for a property. People pay too much because they don't do the math right. Like people, because you pay too much, you spend too much on the rehab, you don't manage it very well, and then you have trouble refinancing it. I mean, that's a mistake. So don't do that. Do your numbers, do your math. Don't get emotionally attached to a deal. Only buy deals that are incredible deals. Pretend you're a house flipper and you got to compete with the house flippers. Get those deals. Don't buy retail. Don't buy retail. All right. Next question. Milan asked a great question. Can we start BRRRR investing, like the initial purchase, with a mortgage, like a 20% down payment mortgage from the bank? Maybe. So here's the deal. If you go to a bank and try to get a mortgage on a nasty property, the bank will likely say no, because banks don't like to fund properties that are not in good condition. And that's why the competition is so much lower for these properties. Like if anybody can go buy the property, then it's probably not going to be a good deal. So yes, you could, if you could get a bank to do it. Now, there are lenders out there. In fact, one of my friends has a relationship with the bank where he buys the property nasty. The bank gives him the money to refinance it. I mean, to fix it up. And then that same bank will go and refinance it for him later, giving him back the initial cash so he can do it again and again. In other words, the bank customized a BRRRR loan just for my buddy. Isn't that awesome? Like, I love that. And like, and you know how he got that? He went to a small local community bank and he said, hey, I'm trying to do this technique, this strategy where I buy properties, fix them up, and refinance them. And the bank's like, all right, well, here you go. Here's $250,000. Pretty awesome, right? So you never know if you don't ask. In fact, I don't know why I've told this story a couple times and I've never gone to that bank to ask them for the same deal, but I'm going to put that on my list to do this week because, well, not this week. I'm actually leaving on a cruise this week. So by the way, there's no Bigger Pockets webinar next week. The first one I've missed in over 2 years. All right. Ray said already a pro. Awesome, Ray. You're awesome. Ron going pro. That's awesome. Anolan, I want to be pro. You should be pro. Savannah said going pro. That's awesome. All right, let's see. What do we got here? Darren said, first off, thanks for the webinar. You're welcome. Just finished paying off a primary residence mortgage. Dude, congratulations. That's awesome. Would like to purchase new primary residence with a HELOC, a home equity line of credit, and rent my original property. Would this complicate the BRRRR process so much that I should just sell the property and start BRRRR from scratch? No, I think that's fantastic. You could definitely do that. You could, like, if I were in your shoes, I'm not telling you what to do, but I'll tell you what I would do. I would probably, if I have my property paid off, I would get a home equity line of credit on my house before buying the new one on your primary house. So let's say you owed $100,000, or it was worth $100,000. I'd go get a line of credit for $90,000. I then use that 90 to go buy the next property. Now, the only downside of that is a home equity line of credit is usually not a fixed rate. It's usually variable. So just make sure you compensate for that. Make sure you've done the numbers as if it went up to 12% or something crazy like that, because interest rates are going up. But no, I think that's a fantastic option. All right. Let's see. Gabe said going pro tonight. Awesome value. Thanks, Gabe. I think so too. Jonathan said pro. Woo, that's awesome. Chris said reputation. This is a really good important. Reputation is important in the real estate game. Will making lowball offers give me the reputation of someone that isn't pleasant to do business with? Not at all. I say not even remotely. Now, if you were out there firing off 100 offers every single month, annoying all the agents with like, an agent goes and lists a house at 150,000 and you offer him 12, or you offer him $40,000 on like the first weekend, right? Yeah, you're going to piss off your own agent, and then you're going to make everybody else think you're just the lowball guy. That's not what I'm talking about doing here. I'm talking about looking at a lot of deals, focusing in on analyzing the ones that make sense, finding out what number makes sense, and the ones that are fairly close, offer on those. Like this one that was 87, if I offered 65, are they going to be ticked off? Of course not. The agent would love to put an offer for 65 because I've got a shot at it, right? I'm not going to offer them 9. Like that would be too far away, but I am going to offer reasonable things, and I'm not going to offer hundreds of them. I'm just going to offer a few every month, probably. Maybe we offer about 10 every month, and I've never had anybody complain about it. My agent loves putting them in. You know why? Because my agent makes tens of thousands of dollars every single year from me. You think he doesn't want to put in offers? He encourages me. He's like, dude, just tell me what number to offer and I will put the offer in, because he knows it's a numbers game and he loves doing it. He makes a ton of money from me. All right, what other questions we got here? Jorge said, already a pro, bro. Awesome, Jorge, welcome. Paul said, already pro. Awesome, welcome. Ben said, what were the links again for slides in 7 years? Let me put those back up in case you need those again. Let's see. Here we go. BiggerPockets.com/125slides and BiggerPockets.com/7 years. Let's see. Marita said, please check my membership status. Maritas, if you're wondering if it went through or if you're having issues with the upgrading, if anybody is, email support@biggerpockets.com. We have 24/7 tech support that are amazing. They will get back to you within an hour usually. So just email support, SUPPORT @biggerpockets.com. All right. Nancy said, how quickly did you try to rehab most of these houses? I try to do them in 2 months. I actually do them usually more like 4. Like I'm just a little bit slower. In fact, I did like 5 BRRRR deals this year. So there's that. Adam said buying out of state. It's definitely a possibility. You can definitely buy out of state if you want to. Just be careful. Do your own math. Never rely on somebody else's math. Always do your own. Don't rely on a turnkey company. Don't rely on a lender, an agent. Do your own math. And find somebody that you have boots on the ground at their location. So find somebody that maybe a relative or a friend that lives in another area and consider investing there, or build relationships with people on BP and then invest out of state. But I just do the math, and I would not choose out of state investing as my first option. But if you can't invest locally, that's definitely an option. However, I don't actually believe the lie that says I can't invest locally. I've met people from all 50 states, from the most expensive cities in America, like San Francisco. In fact, I hung out this week with a couple guys who are from San Francisco, and they buy dozens and dozens and dozens of rental properties every year in that market. Now they have to drive maybe a half hour or an hour, but they're crushing it. So I like anybody that says I can't buy in my area, I don't believe. You just got to work at it. All right, let's see. Barry said, how do you determine the money needed to rehab a property? Where do you find before I answer that question, I will answer that, Barry. This coupon code, by the way, guys, expires on Friday night. So I'm out of here in just a couple minutes. Whenever the timer ends, I'm leaving. What is that? In 6 minutes and 46 seconds, or whatever it is. But this coupon code expires on Friday night. So you have a few days to watch the replay. Everybody can watch the replay for the first 2 days before it goes pro only. And then coupon code expires Friday at midnight as well. Cool? All right. So Barry, how do you determine the amount of money needed to rehab? Where do you find contractors? Sure, great question. So typically I go through a property before. Now, sometimes I make an offer before looking at the property, but sometimes I'll go look at it first. Depends on how ambitious and how hot I think the deal is, right? This deal that we just found tonight, I'll probably go look at that property tomorrow. Well, I'll be gone tomorrow. When I get back from vacation, I'm going to go look at that property if it's still around. And then I'll make my offer. But because it's been on the market for 3 months, I'm not too worried about it disappearing on me. If the property just came on today, I will make an offer before I look at it, and then I'll go look at it. And there's more, I can explain longer detail how I do that or why I do that, but that's just my process. Now, how do you estimate the repairs? You walk through, actually, let me show you guys something kind of cool. Check this out. For those of you people who upgraded tonight or are already pro members, you guys can do this. Sharing my page here. When you're actually working through the report, check this out. So I'm on page number 2 under estimated repair costs. Check this out, expand it. You can go through and enter roof, 5,000, concrete, 3,000, gutters, 2,000, garage, 4,000, siding, none, landscaping, none, exterior painting, 3,000. You can walk step by step through the entire process. These are the same numbers that were used by Jay Scott in the book on estimating rehab costs, which if you guys haven't read that book, fantastic book. The book on estimating rehab costs by Jay Scott. You can buy it at biggerpockets.com/flipping book, or you can get it on Amazon. But it'll basically, you just walk through categories and say, how much for drywall? How much for paint? How much for this? How much for that? And you add it all up and you add a little bit of contingencies, and you'll get better at that over time. Furthermore, we interviewed a guy in the podcast. It doesn't come out for another month, but one of the upcoming podcasts, whenever he buys a property, he goes and he schedules his normal like inspection, and then he invites all his contractors to come in, and they have to show up in a 4-hour window, and they bid everything. That way he knows exactly to the dollar how much he's going to spend before he buys the property. I thought that was kind of a cool strategy. All right. Annette said, don't trust MLS listing real estate taxes. Compute them yourselves and watch the news for increasing mileage rates. Some elderly owners will dump properties when mileage rates increases. So Annette, your point, don't trust MLS real estate taxes. Yeah, I always look up the real estate taxes from the county because that's important. All right. Abdul asked a great question. How do you account for the economy crashing? Good question. So if the economy crashed 100%, we're all screwed anyway, right? But nobody expects it to crash 100%. Could it go down? Of course, and I expect it will. But here's why I love BRRRR investing. Because let's use the example I used earlier. Actually, let's use our real life example. Let me show you guys something. Let's go back over here. What if the economy crashes? Well, here's our property we looked at earlier that we did our report on, right? Let's say over here, this is where the property is worth. Was worth around like 150, right? And here's what I owe on it is down here at loan payoff. This is all equity in between, right? So if the property value, this red line, if it at one point dropped down to here, I'm still above this line. As long as I'm above this line, I'm okay. And the longer this goes, the bigger the gap is between these two lines. Does that make sense? So in other words, what I love about BRRRR investing is that you build equity as a hedge against a crash. If the market crashes, I won't be underwater. Now, I don't like paying full price for properties because if the crash happens, I'll be underwater. I also don't like to buy properties where I'll lose money every month because I don't want to lose money every month in case it crashes. So if the market crashes and I buy this property here for $65,000, oh, well, I'll just hang on till the market improves again, right? Now, if the economy, if we go down to like, we're all shooting each other for food, my real estate is the least of my problems, right? If I'm like having to hunt people for food, like whatever, real estate different. But if we have a decline, which we will at some point, guess what? I'm just going to buy more. I'm going to buy more because I'm going to get good deals then. I get good deals now. I get good deals later. I get good deals no matter what. In fact, I kind of look forward to a crash because then I can start buying more again. I'm going to pick up the best deals in the world when this crash hits. I'm excited for the economy to crash. I don't fear it. I look forward to it because I buy properties that cash flow now. So if the economy crashes, I'll just weather through that storm, making money, living on my financial freedom, and I'll start picking up more properties at cheaper rates. All right. How many more? I got time for like, I don't know, a couple more questions. All right. Let's see. There's so many questions. I want to find one that applies to everybody. Chai said, any plans on making the calcs on mobile? So sort of, actually. The calculators actually, you can't use them in the app right now. We have a BiggerPockets app, but the calculators are mobile friendly. In fact, I use them on my mobile phone quite often. You just go to BiggerPockets on your phone, like on Safari or whatever. And let me see if I can pull it up real quick if I'm logged in. Sometimes my phone like logs me out of things, but I'm logged out. Okay, whatever. But they are mobile friendly. So if you go and use the thing, you'll do good. So check it out. All right. Other questions. How do you estimate rehab costs with no experience? Get bids from contractors. Read the book on estimating rehab costs. You'll do awesome. Thomas said, do you rehab yourself or do you hire contractors? I hire contractors. I hardly ever do things myself. Last year, I did like 2 little tasks myself because I couldn't find a contractor to do it. And the only one I could wanted $4,000 and it took me like 5 hours. So I just did it myself and I saved myself $800 an hour. That's about the only time I do work myself anymore. Let's see. Armin said, gone pro. Whoop, whoop. Jorge said, thanks for not calling me George. You rock. No problem, Jorge. Jorge is actually the name of my painter and one of my main contractors named Jorge. He's awesome. John Lowy said, why do you use an agent? Because I'm not one. If I'm not, now I use an agent. Let me clarify. I use an agent to buy MLS listed deals. In other words, if an agent has a property listed, I'm going to use an agent to buy it because it doesn't cost any money. The seller pays for it. If I'm going to buy a property from a private seller, then I'm going to not use an agent. Does that make sense? Because I don't want that seller to have to pay my real estate agent. So private sellers, I work alone. MLS deals, ones that are on the multiple listing service, meaning like realtor.com, Zillow, stuff like that, which is a terrible explanation of what the MLS is, but we don't have time to go deep. Those I will use a real estate agent for. Cool? All right. Let's see what else we got here. How do you find reliable contractors for rehabs? Man, it's tough. I'm not going to lie. That's probably the toughest part of this business. Referrals, using a lot of them, trying them out, and being good at that was very Canadian. I was in Canada last week skiing, well, snowboarding, well, falling down. And I was around Canadians anyway, use a lot of them. I mean, I try a lot of contractors and I find ones that are good and I treat them well. The ones that are good, I treat them well. Don't go cheap guys. Cheap guys suck. Go the middle guys, the guys that are in the middle. Plan on spending a good amount for rehab. Don't try to get by the cheapest. Don't try to hire the guy under the table. Get good guys that do good work that'll stick with you for years. Donnie said, do I need to know a lot about construction before jumping into this? No, you don't. You just need to know where to ask the right questions. Meaning if you're not sure about something, you need to have the gumption to ask the right questions and to figure things out. When I got started, I knew nothing about real estate. I couldn't even swing a hammer. Rebecca said, please respond to my earlier question about BRRRR calculator results. Where's your earlier question? I don't know. Ask it again because I tend to get lost. There's hundreds of questions in here. Let's see, but ask it again. Let's see what else we got here. Does this work on condos? I suppose it would. If you can get a good enough deal on a condo, I don't see why it wouldn't. I'm not a huge fan of condos because I don't like homeowners associations because they could add fees on that makes cash flow disappear overnight. For example, the condo could be like, hey guys, by the way, we're going to start charging an extra $200 a month for the new roof. Sorry. And then you're like, oh, there goes my cash flow. It's gone. So I don't like condos for that reason very much. But some people I know love condos. If that's what you want to do, just learn how condos work, learn how to hedge against those problems, and then do it, right? It all works if you work it. Evan said, how can we do the BRRRR strategy without taking out loans? Partner with somebody else who takes out the loans, or just do it all in cash if you can save up the money. Gabe said, do you have an attorney you use for all your BRRRR deals? Nope, I never use an attorney. I just use my real estate agent to buy the properties. I use a title company to close. That's about it. Peter said, what are the 10 books everyone should read? Go to biggerpockets.com/books, BOOKS. That'll give you 20 of them. Biggerpockets.com/books. Let's see. Let me do a couple more questions. Bill said, what's the tattoo on your wrist? I got, that one says Ephesians 2:4-9. This one says Galatians 2:20. Look them up if you want to know more what those are. So I got those a couple years ago and I'm hoping to get more tattoos. I actually want a lion. I want to get a big lion on my arm, but I don't know. I'm too wimpy to do it. Let's see. Thomas said, I'm going to do 2 more questions. Thomas said, do you use an LLC? Yes, but not until after the refinance is done. Banks don't like to lend or refinance to LLCs. So I typically don't use an LLC until after the refinance is done. So it's in my own name for a while. Now I'm not giving you tax advice. Remember, I'm not an attorney. I'm not a CPA. I'm just telling you what I do is I buy them in my own name. I rehab them in my own name. I then refinance them in my own name. Then I transfer them. I do what's called a quit claim deed over to an LLC. And there is risk in doing that. I'm not lying. Like, I'm not going to lie. There is a small risk. that the bank could freak out someday and say, hey, we didn't lend to an LLC, put that back in your name, or we're going to, you know, they could freak out. And if that happened, I would deal with it. I don't expect it to happen, but it could. And I understand that. That's another reason why every deal I buy has to have a ton of equity. So when the crap hits the fan, then I can sell if I needed to, if something bad happened. But that's what I do. All right, guys, last question of the day. Last question of the day. Let's see. Okay, I got the question, but before I get out of here, I just want to say thank you guys for coming. There's still 500 people here. You guys are awesome. You guys stuck through an hour and 38 minutes for this. You guys rock. Make sure you guys show up again in 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, we're doing another webinar. There is no Bigger Pockets webinar this next week. Again, first one I missed in 2 years because I will be in the Caribbean having the time of my life with my little girl and my wife. So there's that. And I don't know. Upgrade to Bigger Pockets Pro. If you guys have any questions about it, email support@biggerpockets.com. And last time I'll say this shout out, let me know in the chat area if you guys upgraded to Pro and I didn't give you a shout out yet. I'm sorry if I missed a shout out to you. There's a lot of stuff going on and I'm not that focused. Last thing, if I didn't get to your question, don't despair. There are smarter people than me. There are people more experienced than me hanging out in the Bigger Pockets forums. I just have a loud mouth and so I talk a lot. But if you want to get good advice, go to the Bigger Pockets forums and ask there. There are thousands of people in there all the time that are super smart, helping to answer questions, and it doesn't cost you a dime. With that, let's get to the last question, guys. Let's see. Last question. Oh, by the way, let's see. So Ben said, do you use, this is not gonna be the last question, but he said, do you use cost plus or guaranteed max contracts with contractors? So what I'm kind of changing what I do, and I'm not that familiar with those terms even, and maybe I sound ignorant by not knowing that exactly, but basically what I typically do for a contract, I can tell you. In the past, I usually did, hey, give me an exact number for the labor and I will supply the materials. Well, I'll pay for the materials, you pick them up. That's what I've always done. And then if there's something above and beyond, if we discover something in the walls, we can negotiate price on that stuff later. Lately though, I've been changing that over to they pay everything. And it's just, this is what the property is. If that answers your question, hopefully, if I just looked really stupid there, sorry. But the other question I wanted to get to was, are the loans typically based on equity or rental income? In residential, they're typically based on the equity. In other words, what the property is worth. A bank will give you maybe 70 or 80% of what it's worth when it's fixed up. That's typically how it works. If you're going commercial, well, then it's a lot more, it's based on cap rate, which is related to cash flow. And so we could talk a lot about that, but all right, guys, got to get out of here. Thank you so much for being part of Bigger Pockets. I am going to go eat some dinner and then get on the road. And I'm actually leaving in like 5 minutes to go on my trip. So I'll see you guys later. Have a great couple weeks, and I'll see you back here a week from 2 weeks from today. And yeah, I'll say hi to the Caribbean for y'all. Bye.